So you've been building here in Vietnam since 2007, and then Thailand and Indonesia and elsewhere. But tell me the origin story of Pops Worldwide. Tell me about how it happened.
Oh, I was young and naive and a little bit of craziness. I was in the Valley, where I'm from, and I had this crazy idea of starting the Spotify of Vietnam.
Spotify of Vietnam,
Which
all right.
was all about music discovery, social networking. This is when Facebook was just getting started. And so I said, okay, let's put a PowerPoint together. And I went around Silicon Valley with, meeting high net worth individuals. And I pitched my idea, and lo and behold, someone said, oh, here's 50,000. Here's another 50,000. I was like, oh no, I have to go now. So I packed up my bags. I told my mom a day before leaving.
What? You told your mom a day before you leave that you were
Yes.
going back to Vietnam? Did she come over from Vietnam?
She's from Vietnam. Yeah, my parents are from Vietnam.
I bet that went over well.
She's like, you go, don't come back.
Wow.
So, but I arrived in Vietnam. It was really the Wild Wild West back then. And talking to artists, they didn't understand what I was trying to do. They didn't understand licensing. They didn't understand digital. So it was really a lot of work going artist by artist, educating the market, really walking them through, persistence, going back, right?
Yeah, and you had some really good angels, because one of them was how we got introduced, which is great, who I knew from the tech world back when I was doing PC Magazine. So I know why you went to Vietnam because of the Vietnamese background, but what else led you there? And what, as you were working through it, like what were the early challenges? I mean, people didn't know what you were talking about, that's part of it, but how did you do that? And how did you develop out the creator opportunity? How did that come up to happen?
So I saw that anyone who's been to Vietnam knows that Vietnam is such a vibrant music market. It's a young, dynamic market. And so I saw so much opportunity in that sense. And I love chaos. I thrive in chaos. So, for me, there was so much opportunity in that sense of really building up the music industry, first in ringback tones and then distributing across digital platforms. My Spotify did not take off. I mean, it was such a small advertising market back in 2007. I think back then it was 5 million. So we got into music and we started distributing across many different platforms and realized why stop at music, and we went from artist by artist to creator by creator, and TV networks by TV networks. I mean, basically anybody who had content we were talking to.
So you were just like, we're going to take your content and we're going to get it out there, and we're going to get you paid?
Correct. So It was all about, let me help you create content, produce content, market, distribute, monetize. And from Vietnam, we said, well, why stop at Vietnam? We went into Thailand in 2016, and then from Thailand into Indonesia during the height of COVID, a little ballsy, but it was one of the best decisions.
So talk about how you talk about Pops today, from music and Vietnam to really all sorts of creators of all sorts of media in these three countries. And I know that's not the end, but how do you, when you go to an investor today and they know nothing about you, what do you say?
I would say we're much more of a digital entertainment company, focusing on 4 key categories. 1, definitely music, which is the cornerstone and backbone of the company. Number 2 is a creator network. We're digital first, and we believe in our digital creators. Second would be our anime, which is kind of out there. We do, because Vietnam and Southeast Asia is such a huge consumer of anime content, and we started off first at Doraemon and moved into with One Piece and Conan and Naruto, all of the greatest hits. So Japanese anime has been one of our key cornerstones since 2016, and kids for sure.
Yeah, kids for sure. So when you think about the creators and the way that people make money, what sort of ways are creators making money today across these 3 platforms? And obviously, I understand the licensing and stuff like that, but think about the creators. How are they making money working with you?
It's really evolved over the last, few years. Like before, it was just, how can I create long-form quality content, to now, how can I create really short content, get as many people to follow me so that I can do influencer marketing. influencer marketing also has evolved. It's no longer just talking about the product, but it's also about how can we cut through the funnel and actually sell the product. So it's moved from talking to actually shopping and consuming.
You know, it was interesting, we were talking about for creators that the CPMs are so low on advertising that they have to be sort of mass scale to make any money. Tell me about that a little bit.
That's right. I mean, I was surprised when I was talking to a creator in the US and they said, oh, we had 500,000 views. I'm like, 500? In Vietnam, that would be fail. Like, you just cannot make any money off of that. So in order to actually be a success, you have to hit 1 million to 2 million views within an hour.
What?
Right?
Wow.
I mean, that's the amount of scale that needs to happen, whether it's a music content, whether it's a creator content, any kind of content. So
How do you build that scale? How does that happen?
it's the pops effect.
The Pops effect. All right, that's the secret sauce. I love it.
It's, you know, I guess the network effect. It's about the marketing team that we have, the insights that we have, and being able to really, you know, push that across the entire network, across the region.
When you push it across the network and you talk about it, is it the network of other creators? Is it the network of sort of more traditional media, like apps that sit on phones? Or like, how do you think about that network?
Mostly across other networks. I do believe in the power of network, the power of people joining together to promote each other and to help each other. Because if not, there's no way you can actually acquire 2 million views, 10 million views, you know, and have enough money to actually acquire those. So you do need the power of the network.
Really that network of creators, right? Yeah, so I mean, I create a piece of content, I'm on Pops, I put it out there, and everybody rallies around me. Is that what happens?
That, and, you know, we're able to push it across multiple different platforms. So,
okay, yep,
right,
yep, got it.
If you're publishing on YouTube, then you got to push it across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. But of course, all in different formats because all the platforms are different in of itself.
Are you taking the video that somebody creates or the music and doing your own internal work to reformat it for those platforms?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we do help, you know, creators on TikTok move over to YouTube, YouTube over to TikTok, or, you know, and then create content for Instagram and for Facebook. Because at the end of the day, Southeast Asia is such a young, dynamic market, right? These young Gen Z, Gen A, they're all over the place. They're not sitting on just one platform. So to be a part of their world, we have to be across all the different platforms.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. How many creators do you have in your sort of broader network at this point?
About 44,000.
4,000.
They're nano, a lot of
Right, yep.
nanos, right? A lot of macros, micros. But I would say each of the markets are quite different. In Thailand, we probably see many, many more nano creators.
Now, if I'm a nano creator, what's the allure for me to come to Pops?
What we do is, in Thailand, which is very, very unique in the sense that brands like to run smaller campaigns. They like to run influencer marketing with nano creators, but they like to run with 100 nano creators at one time, right? And so they have these projects that they can work with us on, but they have their own little community, and they're a lot more intimate with their fans. So that's why brands like to work with us with 100 of these nano creators.
You have stuff that you use to help sort of vet content coming in from 100 nano creators. I mean, we're talking today about really content at scale, but how do you vet all that? Or do brands just, they're like, you know what, we just want to work with people and scale is what we want. We don't care about vetting it for brand safety.
No, we do have to do brand safety, especially in our markets, because it's content insensitive. You know, what will work and be relevant in Thailand will and may not work in Indonesia or in Vietnam, right? So we do vet a lot of our content and our creators prior to engaging in any kind of campaign.
Yeah, it sounds like you've become experts in these markets and you've just added 2 over the last, I don't know, few years. Are there more markets on the way?
I would say Japan is one of our next markets. I mean, just we're doing so much in Japan anyway. So just extending our partnership, looking at that, looking at virtual influencers, virtual tubers, VTubers, and then also working with our existing partners like TV Tokyo, Fuji TV, Toei, Fujiko Pro, so all these.
Yeah, I saw you just raised money in Japan, so
Yes.
yeah, I can see why that's a focus. But you know what's interesting? You also raised money from a company in Korea, right?
We did. So Murray Asset Neighbor Growth is an investor. We have other PE funds in Korea. We have Warner Brother Discovery, when they were Turner at one point.
Oh, okay, yeah, not the Discovery that I sold a company to. It was before
No.
they merged together.
Yes.
So under the aura of David Zaslav, they're investors. But in Korea, is that a market that's potentially there for you? Or is it maybe later?
Maybe later. It's not
Yeah.
really a big focus. I mean, we do, because Pops is also in the webtoons comics space, we have a comic studio, so we do work and license, you know, webtoons from Korea, from China, we do manga in Japan. And then one of the things that we're especially our team, are very passionate about is how do we build up webtoon creators in Southeast Asia and team them up with webtoon creators in Japan or in Korea.
Are you taking some of the webtoon stuff and turning it into videos and turning it into more like just stuff that happens in a more sort of, I guess, traditional video distribution platforms?
Yeah, we've been doing it for years. So we take the actual webtoon, we make them into moving tunes, which is a big hit in Southeast Asia, in the rest of the region. We do from webtoons into physicals, merch, the whole 360.
Well, let's talk about VTubers and Japan and anime for a little bit. We had a captain over here doing really interesting things with avatars and giving VTubers an ability to create their own communities and stream. Got another session here in about an hour and a half talking a little bit more about that. And I was also thinking, like, there's a VTuber bar in Tokyo now. Like now I'm like, I gotta go to a VTuber bar. But what are you doing on the VTuber space? How do you see that developing? Because it's big in Japan for sure. As we've heard, it's big around Asia. It's sort of getting there in the US, but what's your vision on that market and how that's developing?
I would say on the VTuber side, it's definitely our way of participating in the market in Japan. It's, at the end of the day, it's about storytelling. Yeah. It's about character building. It's about IP building. So, you know, having a different perspective from the creators in Vietnam or in Indonesia or Thailand to reach Japan and have that connection with them, I think that brings a different angle of storytelling.
So that's amazing. So creators in your core countries can create and then distribute in Japan. How are you handling the translation in the language?
Oh, AI. AI
okay,
is great.
So talk about that. Talk about how the AI manages it. And the great thing about animation, of course, is you don't have to worry about the voices and the faces that much, right?
That's correct. I mean, AI has done wonders for us in terms of localization. We've been doing localization with AI for the past couple years. From there, we can take script or real-time conversations and convert it into Japanese real-time, and they're having a conversation, or in English.
So a VTuber can do that and have a conversation that way.
And live stream and have, you know, engage with their audience.
Yep.
Absolutely. So the world becomes smaller.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that you can do that with animation. Of course, it makes a ton of sense. You are also dabbling in virtual synthetic creators.
Yes, I call them virtual idols.
Virtual idols?
Virtual idols who look very, very real. And my vision is to have a whole army of them.
Are you worried that they're going to take money away from your creators?
No, I don't think so. I think because, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about creating content. It's about also help facilitating our creators and doing things with our creators. It's not about one or the other. So how do they participate together?
Yeah, and they're still, even though they're synthetic creators or idols, would you call them virtual idols? Virtual idols, they're still they're rendered like non-player characters, and the dialogue and everything is fed to them, and somebody's doing a voice track and other things like that, correct?
Correct. So you still have the creators or talent behind, you know, the virtual idols. I'll give you an example. We have an amazing voice creator, and what we did is we did a live, and it's a she who is the voice of Naruto.
Really, like the voice of Naruto?
The voice of Naruto.
Wow.
And we did a live streaming of her doing live dubbing at the time where everyone's watching. So it's really amazing to see her come to life in front of everyone, and using her voice and her creativity behind the other VTubers or any of our other virtual idols.
Super cool. So let's talk a little bit about platforms. What are the primary platforms that you see in the 3 countries you're in now, and I guess, you know, the ones you're looking at? Which ones are dominant? Which ones are most important? Which ones are you worried about?
I think it depends on market. For example, Indonesia is very much of a Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I would say in Vietnam, it's Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
It's still Facebook, huh?
It's still
Facebook's big in
Facebook.
Vietnam. Go
Yes.
Facebook.
Very much so.
Got it. What about Thailand?
Thailand, I would say Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
What do you think about the TikTok's challenges in the U.S.? Do you think that's going to affect you here at all?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, I would say that TikTok definitely has experienced some challenges locally in each market for, between Vietnam and TikTok and Indonesia, they had their public.
Yeah, with the thing with Tokopedia that they had to buy
yes.
for, say, yeah.
Correct. So, I mean, they will overcome. They're just so strong in these markets, it's really hard to disrupt that.
And are creators making money on short form? I mean, you talked about going to 1 million, but is it primarily the brand stuff that you bring in? Is it primarily other areas, or like how has that happened?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a hard shift from just normal network revenue over to brand revenue, influencer marketing to commerce.
So commerce. Now, are you getting into the live stream commerce side, and are you getting into developing products as well?
Yeah,
creators?
absolutely. No, definitely, because it's part of the creator economy.
Right.
You cannot ignore it. You have to be a part of it. So we are definitely part of the social commerce, the content commerce, the VOD commerce, like everything that is surrounding creators making money. I would say one of the pain points is how do they make money and have inventory to sell? So that's the part where we're filling in the gaps behind the artists as well as the creators.
So are you doing other things for creators like communities and other ways for them to connect more that are paid, or is it more like live stream shopping and that is really becoming an area that's really taking off for our creators?
We do a lot of live stream, a lot of VOD. I mean, I would say Thailand is a lot more on the VOD side than Indonesia and Thailand, where live streaming is really at its core. They will live stream for 15 hours.
Yeah, a lot of diamonds, huh?
Lots of diamonds.
A lot of diamonds. A lot of diamonds. All right. So a little time left. If you were to talk to a creator today that's starting out in Indonesia or Thailand or Vietnam, what would you say to them to get started, how to think about it, and then what would you say to them to come work with you?
I would say, one, be yourself. I mean, these are really basic, and I think everyone has heard this before. Be yourself, be authentic. But I think most importantly, and it's, there's so much noise on the internet, right? There's so much noise on TikTok, and so I think it's really important for everyone or all these creators, to be authentic, but be persistent. And it's
persistence, yeah.
Persistency is the key, because it will happen as long as you're dedicated to do it. And it's hard. It's not easy to create content across all the different platforms. Before, you would just need to focus on YouTube. But now you have to think, what is my strategy for YouTube? What is my strategy for Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok?
Your 40,000 creators that you work with, what percentage of them are doing it full time?
Oh, I don't.
I just wonder, because I think about that. We've been talking about that a lot. I assume it says a lot of them do a lot of other stuff, and this is part of it, right?
Yeah, I think this is just part of their.
All right, so in the last 40 seconds we have, give me a creator that is under the radar that we should all be paying attention to.
Her name is Zoe Nguyen.
Joey? Is it Joey?
Zoe.
Zoe Nguyen, okay.
You can see her on TikTok or on Instagram or Facebook.
Like what makes her so special?
You'll have to guess if she's real or not.
Ah, okay, Zoe Nguyen. Is she live or is she Memorex? Esther Nguyen, thank you very much. It's great to see you.